inflation and everything. Take 5.
Hi, I'm Lorna Hamukoma, and I'm a feminist, activist, third culture kid.
Hi, I'm Gudona Mahanemele. I'm a director of photography and an entrepreneur.
Hi, my name is Alex Fitzgerald, and I'm a lawyer interested in business and human rights.
Hi, I'm Ajwa. I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I'm a lawyer.
Hi, I'm Lebran Zigan, and I'm here to learn.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the BKS. What's the BKS? The BKS is the best kept secret. What's the best kept secret? Africans. So for today, we're continuing with our Women's Month panel, and we have a very special episode. We have our lady over here, Lebran, and she's under 30. And we have us grown women over here. We're all over 30. And we decided to talk about this concept of the 30s. What it is to be 30 as an African woman. Does it still have the same stresses that came with it maybe 50, 30, 20, 10 years ago? Is there still this anxiety about being 30? What have you experienced post 30? What are you thinking about? Maybe, I mean, you're not even approaching 30, you're like on the other side of 25. But are you thinking about it? You know, what is this thing as we inch? And is it a woman thing? Is it an African thing? Is it a black people thing? Is it everyone thing? Like, what is this thing about this milestone that isn't even, we're living till 150, 100, 200. The concept that we are stressing at this stage, the concept that we are stressing at this stage in our lives is a bit ridiculous. So yeah, 30s. Why are they dirty?
Why are they dirty?
I mean, the only like getting down and dirty for me, I think, is like getting down and dirty in that like self-reflection, critical of self stage. So I think during the 20s, your ego is kind of working overtime because you kind of like get more humble and get more modest almost. Like in your teens, you know everything there is to know. In your 20s, you're like, I'm figuring it out, but like I'm doing well and like blah, blah, blah. In your 30s, you're expected to be a full adult, but you don't feel like one. You still feel kind of like yourself, obviously, but like it doesn't always match up to what your profession might be. You guys, I'm sure you know this, what the expectations on you may be, the expectations from your family, for support from your peers, from your friends, from your partners. And so you're kind of like, you know, sort of like internalizing all this stuff and I think reflecting a whole lot more, and that is really difficult work.
I think I realize it's such a privilege to be able to be unmarried, unchilded at 30. You know, because our mothers were never allowed that. Yeah. It would be wild. I mean, my mom had me at 30, so it was wild for her already getting married so late. And I am in nowhere near marriage, nowhere near deciding to have tiny humans. I don't even want tiny humans. So just being able to articulate that and have my life go on without having to deal with social stigma, having friends who are able to be like, oh, okay, cool, like we go on. But like our mothers, you know, work, varsity, work, marriage. Sometimes in between varsity and work, marriage. Definitely children early on. No time for yourselves, no pocket, like no frivolous spending. Like your mom was never broke with popcorn, right? And sitting there on the couch eating Netflix, watching Netflix, right? She couldn't be that girl.
Broken 30 was not okay, and not an option.
No.
Now you're just like, okay.
Yeah, you know? But I also find the other side of the coin, with the privilege also comes this dis-ease a little bit because I can't compartmentalize myself. So I can't say, wife, tick, mom, tick. So I have to do the hard work on self-definition, like how you mentioned, you know? And I found that was the hardest thing for me, is that I couldn't fall into some of these like pigeonholes that were set aside for me, like you're supposed to be in here, you're supposed to be in here, and I really had to do the hard work of like, who the hell are you? Like, what are you doing here? You know, what are you supposed to do? You know, and I found that tripped me up. When I got to 29 is when I think my ego hangover came in. Where I was like, massive hangover of my ego. I think my ego dragged me past varsity. It dragged me past my first work experiences. Then it just got exhausted and was like, we're done with ego land. Can your spirit come up now? And I'm still there, broke inside. You know what I mean? Where I'm still kind of like gathering my pieces a little bit and, you know, and saying, you know, that thing that happened at 10 was not okay. Or that thing that happened at 12 defined you and how you relate with other women. And for me, that's the dirt, like how you were saying.
That I absolutely agree with that. Like for some reason, like you start like getting these sort of like memories coming up, and I think that maybe it's because you're engaging so much, you're prioritizing, or you're just reflecting. Like you finally maybe got to a space where like you've got a job and a salary, and you can actually sit down for a second and be like, okay, I have a job, I have a place to live, I have a salary, cool. And then you're like, I've been through a lot of shit. Like to get to that place, like people don't appreciate because it's hard. Like a lot of people don't make it. Like we don't all get the privilege of making it to 30.
Yeah. And then I think that also
in the 30s is
that it's not really. And the thing is, I think you have to make it momentous. So it's really sad for me, and I think that's why I really like what you said, Louis, about this privilege of being able to own your 30s. So just to be like young at 30 is a completely different thing that has never happened before. Yeah. And I think what a lot of women miss is having fun with that last bit of your 20s.
Yeah.
I had like really good advice to really enjoy that 29, 28. So I had like sunset of my 20s for a long time. I was having an amazing time. And then I got over it, and even like I had an amazing 30th birthday, because I think it is something to be celebrated about that comfort and that freedom that so many other women, particularly as African women, what we're living as 30 has never been done before.
Yes.
It's unrelatable to many of our mothers, our grands, you know, it's completely unrelatable to where we are, and this comfort. And then the privilege to take stock, you know? Even if you do have children, even if you are like married, even if you have like stresses, I feel like there's a weight I'm able to share, because there's a lot of things that define me as a 21-year-old that are completely unrelatable to me now. But because I was in my 20s, I'm lumped in with this thing. You know, something that I did at 25, if I was at 28, you still think I'm the same person. But at 30, I'm allowed to like be like, guys, I'm 30 now. And you know, there's a whole new thing that I can define myself. And I'm excited by this like redefinition. In taking stock, I'm excited that it's the one good thing is that society is allowing me to say, I'm gonna put a line here, and it's not gone, whatever, that's still me, but I'm gonna just try out maybe a whole new me, or an evolved me, or something like that.
It's so weird. Like, honestly, first birthday in my life where I felt something change the next morning. I don't know how to explain it, aside from, it's like you.
Yeah, that's a good.
And also because so much anxiety is built up.
Yeah,
people were like, "You're turning that." You're like, "I'm turning 30." And so much, and everyone's panicking around you. Everyone was like, "What are you gonna do?" And then you make it and you enjoy it, and then you're like, "Oh, this is it! I made it. Now I'm good. I'm alright. I'm not dead. I have not shriveled up and died.
I'm 30, I'm still myself, I still have fun,
Yeah.
I haven't changed fundamentally, and if I have, it was cool because it was a choice. I get to see things as choices as opposed to things that happen to me. Like now, everything has, obviously time is speeding up because now I've got less years now ahead of me, kind of thing. But like, time is,
like 70. Yeah.
you know, okay, so we don't know we don't know what my body will look like.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I'm down for plastic surgery, so it might be a whole new me. A
black don't transformation.
I mean, but like it's just, these are choices now. Like I get to decide, do I want to have this person in my life? Nope. This kind of drama? Nope. Swipe left. Swipe left. Swipe left. And I don't apologize.
Yes.
That's the biggest difference.
I think I didn't understand that. When I asked a lot of questions at 29 or everybody was in their 30s and things, you're unapologetic and you stand up for yourself and you know what you want. I didn't really get it, but what I'm finding is that being in my 30s has taught me to receive my own goodness. So in my journey, I realized, in your 20s, sometimes you don't think you deserve good. Sometimes you there's the suffering narrative about your 20s that you finish at 22, at 23, you have your first job, you buy your first house at a certain age, or a car, or there's a suffering, work through it, like push through the walls,
And then enjoy it.
and then enjoy it, But then the enjoyment
That's
part
the
I
enjoyment,
found,
yeah.
because I did all that. I pushed through barriers. And then I got to the place where I'm supposed to enjoy it at 27, 28. And it took me since then to understand that I really don't know how to receive goodness or how to believe in my own goodness. And if there was anything I would tell someone in their 20s is that believe you deserve good. It will change fundamentally everything you choose. And that's something I think we don't tell young people, is to help them harvest their own goodness. And a lot of people would say to me, okay, what is my own goodness? What does that mean? That you deserve good things. That you deserve to study the thing you want to study, or change your mind halfway through, or change your job because you don't want to do this anymore and teach kids, or that's goodness. Whatever brings you happiness is your only function, and that's goodness. And that would be the one thing I tell anybody. I mean, my sister's 19, and I always say, hey, you're a good person, you deserve good things, and happiness is your only function. If nothing serves that thing, leave it alone.
Yeah.
The whole of capitalism has to go there.
Exactly.
No, but like exactly. I realized, so I always put a theme to my year. So when I have my birthday, I'm like, okay, this year I'd like to learn about this. Last year I said I'd like to learn about love. Boy oh boy, did the universe just come for me. But one of the biggest things was the quality of love. Now that I'm 30, I acknowledge the quality of love that I give, and acknowledge the quality of love that I desire. If it's under that, I don't want it. And I would have never, because before I'd have been just like, love, no. There's very specific kinds of love. There's very specific kinds of relationship. And I'm capable of it, because I'm still here, and I'm still functioning in these relationships. They may be romantic, they may be friendships, they may be work relationships, but there's a quality of relationship that I give out. And like you're saying, good things for yourself. Why don't I think that I'm owed a similar standard?
I think what happens at 30 is you rise above the fray. So there's a lot of things that are associated with young womanhood that you're just like, I can choose to be part of that. Because I think that's another thing, is we don't need to massively age ourselves into like oblivion. We can enjoy it, but you can choose. You can choose what you want to be part of. You can choose a hashtag you want to get behind. You can choose. Whereas in my 20s, I felt like a lot is coming at me, and I'm just here to get it and learn it and be in it. But now I'm like, actually, you know what? I understand your cause. It's not the one that I'm going to get behind. I only have so much energy. I'm 30. I only have so much. I can choose. You know what I mean? Even when things are really awesome, like really cool acts or bands or that kind of stuff, or music or television shows or movies, I get to choose. I get to say, you know what? I like that one. I'm not going to see that one. When you're 20s, you don't want to miss out on any single thing. You want to be in it. You want to be in trend. And at 30s, you're allowed to just be like, maybe I missed out. Maybe I revisit it when I'm 40. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's very, very relaxed, and I don't understand this constant need to be fearful of it. And it's not to say that there's not stress. There's a lot of stress that comes with being 30. There's a lot of, expectation. And you want momentum. But I think because you've realized that you can make it to the other side, you're now planning in a way that you never did in the beginning of your 20s.
Yeah.
You didn't have a plan for your 20s. But most people have a plan for their 30s. Yeah. And then 40s, you'll have learned how to implement the plan. So now your plan gets better,
Yeah.
I think another thing as well that's standing out in my 30s is my body, my physical body. A lot of forgiveness had to happen. I think when you're in your 20s, you believe so much in your body. You believe in, like, how do I look? How am I perceived? How do I perceive myself? Why don't I look like that? What do people who look like that get? There's a lot of like mathematics that happens in your mind about your body. and I had to forgive a lot of the narrative that I self-created, you know, about my body, and now start investing in health. You know, this food does not treat me well. Why do I keep eating this food that makes me feel like crap? Like, what is the self-inflicted thing? And it's actually quite violent that we do to ourselves, you know, like going on my journey for giving up meat, you know, knowing that this thing doesn't make me feel good, you know, but also forgiving myself that I allowed myself to not feel good for that long. You know, it's a very, your body, for me, my body I began to revere it. I began to see myself as number one, above the phrase, so above my body. I'm not my body, but also forgiving my body, you know, to say, I'm sorry that I put certain things on you that you really didn't deserve, or I made you suffer. It was about powering through in your 20s. Like, oh girl, we went out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 days, Monday, Tuesday.
Keep drinking, just keep drinking.
And that's one thing I really, because on my 30th birthday, I didn't throw a party. I went on a super like gruesome hike because I really wanted to push my body. I was so thankful at the end of that like 6, 7, 8 hour thing that I did. Because I then recognized and thanked my body that thank you for putting me, or how else can I say, for being such a great vessel. For putting up with all the things I did to you, you know? They say respect yourself, but now I understand what that means. You know?
I think it's so true because also when you get into your 30s, any sort of like little niggly goblins that have been lurking in your DNA and in your genetic ancestry are going to start showing up. So, you know, like your hereditary illnesses, diseases, your diabetes, back pain, those things are going to start showing up in your life. And especially if you've like, I mean, same thing, 20s, like you really take your body for granted. I mean, I would be like, oh, I need to lose like 5 kilos in 3 days. Got it. Like, great. Like, I'll just like go on like a juice fast and like do whatever. And I remember getting into my 30s and being like, oh, this isn't working anymore. And my body was like, yeah, no, not doing this anymore. Like, this is not going to work for us. We don't want to do these things, and also we don't want to eat these things. And, you know, I've had a very much like a love-hate, actually, let me just say, a hate-hate relationship with my body for my whole life. But when you get to your 30s and you start focusing more on your health and well-being, and I was never into any of those things, or exercise or anything. And when you do start doing those things out of like sort of like a sense of health, and because of medical issues, you're forced to focus on your body. It's hard to hate your body when you realize how much it does for you. So like your actual relationship with you know, this vessel sort of changes, and I can understand why you would want to go on a hike, because, you know, like the strength, you start to appreciate what your body can do, especially when you start to not be able to do certain things with your body that you thought, I thought I could still do a handstand, guys. Wow, I learned that that time in my life is now over. Like, gravity says it's a bus.
I think what's really great about being 30 is it's the rite of passage that you can choose. So, especially with young women, there's rites of passages that we just have to do. You know, it may be for whatever your culture, maybe when you're 13 or when you're 16 or when you're 20 something, you know, 21 or whatever. There's all these ones that are imposed, I think, more by your culture and society and whatever. But at 30, you decide, and I've loved experiencing 30s with all of my other friends as well. I mean, because we're all of your friends are 30, so we're all like riding 30 together. It was amazing. But it was also amazing to see what they chose to do for themselves. You know, one friend, I'm going to dinner that they've organized at a gallery. One friend, it's a hike. One friend, it's like a huge bash. One friend, it's like a meditation. They're choosing how they're gonna like honor this time in a way that you don't get when you're younger. You don't. There's like a set script and you do it. But when you're 30, you get to say, how do I want to go into this?
Well, if you have certain privileges.
Yes, obviously. Yes, obviously.
Obviously, as a middle class kid.
Because I think then that completely changes your experience in your 30s. You have, like, if you don't have kids, for example, or you're not in a family which sort of compels you to do certain things by certain timelines and are super strict about it, you've got a lot more freedom, you've got time to reflect, you can contemplate things like career changes and, you know, really exciting stuff, choice, and you get to buy in to that choice. So then being an African woman in your 30s who's middle class is a totally different experience to being an African woman in your 30s who's working class, who has probably, you know, like has very little choice, has very little opportunity, and I think that's sort of like another thing, I guess, about your 30s is that, for me at least, is that the level of inequality, particularly in South Africa, you know, starts to actually become intolerable.
It's your awareness is heightened, completely heightened. You're so aware to everything, and again, stepping above the fray, you suddenly have perspective of a lot of what's happening. By the time you're 30, you have a lot of friends that you've lost, you've had like people who've died, you've had things that you've weathered through, and you're just so much more aware of what's going on, you know, and your awareness, you can't shut it out. Once you know, you have to change, you have to do better. Once you're aware of the inequality, you want to change, you want to reflect, you want to do more for everyone else around you.
I just want to know, what does the rest of the 30s look like? What do you Seeing as you know how to plan better, you just said it yourselves, you're in a better place. So going forward,
You know
what does
what?
that mean
Actually-
to 40?
Again, quality. One other thing the 20s taught you, Shem. Plans are nice, babes, but life will happen. Plans are nice. The level of plot twist that life holds for you, you're like, what?
You're not even really attached to any outcomes. No?
Yeah, you're just like really, you're like, okay, I want to be X person and I would like to have X quality of life. I don't know what that looks like then, but this is what I want. And then you go and you plan how you aim to get there, because your 20s taught you well. What you thought you wanted at 21, what you wanted at 25, and what you wanted at 30 are completely different things. So putting yourself in and locking yourself down into a 5-year plan with the present version of yourself doesn't work.
So yeah, I think that's a great place to end, and hope that young women like you, Lebu, who are under 30 have had a snapshot, because what I didn't get when I was, until very late, and I really just felt like it was just pure like light of the universe, that I had so many people to usher me into my 30s. But I feel like it's mystified, you know, and it's in a negative light, and I don't really understand that, you know. Yes, there's inequalities and all of that, but there's something about the 30s that is pictured as gloom and doom, and there was a lot of young people who have anxiety, complete fear, you know, inertia from their approaching their 30s. So I'm hoping that through this conversation, a young woman like you can see, like you can be good.
Yeah.
I mean, we're stressed.
Yeah, 30 doesn't look like what my mom described it to me, so for me that's great.
Yeah.
That's already a thing. I mean, even for my mom had me at 35, because already she was like, way past.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm glad that I don't have to fit the script anymore. I'm happy to get people around.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you. That's the BKS Africa. BKS. All of our Women's Month episodes of The Best Kept Secret were shot at Danger Gevaar Ngozi Studios. That's DGI Studios. You can find them online at ngozistudio.com and on Instagram at dgi.studio. Danger Gevaar Studios is currently printmaking. Their aim is to disrupt the historically oppressive, traditionally Western art world. Thank you very much.
Don't let the problems of this world drive you slowly out of your mind. Smile, look at the problem and say, peace that way sometimes. Oh, baby, yes it does now. Baby, yes it does. Baby, yes it bother you